Dad, your grandfather had 3 sons.
Yes.
John was the oldest.
Anton
Anton was your father. He
And
was
Joe.
the middle. And Joe was the youngest. John had 3 daughters.
That's what I understood,
Right.
yes.
But you never met John?
No, I never met neither one of them.
Or Joe. But Joe never married.
Joe never did, as far as I know, he never did marry.
Okay. And Anton, your father, married Amelia,
Amelia Wall.
called Millie.
Mm-hmm.
And they had
6 children.
6 children.
6 children, 3 daughters and 3 sons.
And Dad, what were their, do you remember what their names were?
Who's my mother's name?
No, the children. The children you just mentioned, the 6 children. Do you remember their names?
My family?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, John was the oldest one.
Uh-huh.
Lucille was second. Albina was third. Anton was fourth. I was fifth. Millie was sixth.
Okay.
And me and Millie, the only 2 living in our whole family.
That's amazing.
She's 3 years younger than I am.
Oh, just 3 years difference between you.
I've been in 1905, born 1905, and she was 1909. But she's the only one that was born in McLennan County at West. The
Uh-huh.
rest of us was born in Moulton.
So you were born in Moulton.
Mm-hmm.
On what date? What day?
Wait a minute. My birthday come on
September?
September 22nd,
Okay. 1905.
05.
Okay.
Was the first
Uncle John.
to come to America from Germany.
Before your grandfather?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he spoke German, so it was easy for him to learn American language, English. And evidently he was pretty smart. He had education. He was superintendent of the railroad they built from San Antonio to Perryville. He was supervisor of the railroad. Now, what year that was, I don't know. But a few years after that, I guess then he helped the rest of the family to come to America. And they all settled in Moulton, M-O-U-L-T-O-N, Moulton. But grandmother wasn't there. Yes, she was. She came with him, but she died in Moulton.
Oh, she did come over with him, though. But you don't remember her or anything.
No,
That
never.
was before you were born.
At all. I just know of her.
You have no idea what year they came over from Europe?
No, I don't. That I do not know. But wait a minute, since I was 2 years old and I was born in 1905, so how would that figure out?
It really wouldn't
I was
connect.
2 years old when they come, so that would have been about 1907, wouldn't it?
No, 1903.
Oh, you mean when they moved to West?
Huh?
You mean when they moved to West?
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
yeah. Oh,
when they came to Moulton. See, they farmed in Moulton a few years.
right. But that wouldn't tell us what year they came there, because that was before your time.
No? Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that I was born in 1905 from then on. But before that,
And you don't remember hearing the name of your grandmother, what her name might have been?
of who?
Your grandmother.
No, I don't. I don't. I never was at the cemetery to visit, you know.
Well, they said she's not buried with the grandfather, so it may be, well, you just mentioned, though, that she did come over here. I was
Well,
thinking maybe she died
she
before they
wanted to
came
know
over
how come
here.
they wasn't buried together.
Well,
And, you know, usually, but she had to be, when the grandfather died, he would have to be shipped there to Moulton, and maybe they didn't have the funds to
that's
do
true.
that.
That's true.
So we're assuming she was buried in Moulton.
Huh?
Daddy, you're saying that she was buried in Moulton.
Your grandmother,
Yeah.
most
Mhm.
likely,
Mm-hmm.
because she had come over.
But they all spoke, well, they spoke German what I heard when they all come from there. And then, well, they learned Czech. Grandfather could speak Czech too.
So he spoke German and Czech? Your grandfather?
That I do not know. I don't know.
Sure he did. Your grandpa spoke Czech to y'all.
What's what?
Your grandfather spoke Czech to you?
Yeah. Hmm. That's true. We could communicate. We couldn't speak German, us kids, you know. And he's the one, whenever folks left, they had, you know, they had to travel those days by wagons at night to visit friends. Where Grandpa lined us all up when they left, and he taught us the rosary in Czech. I still remember it. Every one of them, even the baby, Millie was just a baby, and she had to, one of the girls had her.
Do you know how many children were in your mother's family?
No, but I knew two sisters of her and one brother, and her, that would be four.
4. Did they live in that area
Well,
around
but
west?
she's getting that information from the Wolf family, so we don't have to put that in there. But grandfather, they had more children than just those 3, but they lost them at childbirth or young age, from what I understood. I don't know how many they had, but that they had quite a few. And Grandpa bought a farm in Moulton with little money. I guess he didn't have much money, little money. The farm was sanded along, worn out, you know. And they didn't know much about farming because they never farmed before, and they couldn't make a living.
Mm-hmm.
So one year, I forgot what year it was, West had advertised in papers that they got tremendous cotton crop, that they need cotton pickers. So my daddy read that, and he didn't have no crop at home hardly to speak of, so he decided to go to West and pick cotton, which he was a good cotton picker. He picked 400 or 500 a day, if good cotton. And he did, and that's where he met Mr. Marek. Marek, they call it, I forgot his first name, but they call him, you know, his byword was Vointo. They call him Vointo Marek. And he was wealthy. He had many farms. He had 8 children of his own, and each one of them, when they married, was on their own farm. And he had some besides that to rent. So he got acquainted with my daddy, and he liked, well, I guess my daddy, that he worked hard, picked cotton and all that. And Daddy asked him if he would lease him a place. He agreed. So that's the reason we moved to West. We was on his place 5 years.
Do you know what year this was that you moved to West?
No, I don't.
You were about 2 years old, though.
No, yeah, well, yeah, I must have been about 3, 4, maybe, I don't know. I didn't date yet those days.
And at the time that your dad moved to West, your grandfather came
With
along
us.
too. He was
Mhm.
with you all the time.
See, his grandfather and my father, they went in a freight train because they had to water feed the cattle and cows they had. And mother and the 4 or 5 children of us were riding in a passenger train. And I was 2 years old. Mother always told me, and she couldn't hold me down on the seat. I always wanted to go through. You know, like kids are. She was describe me. But I don't know. I don't remember.
After your dad leased the land for 5 years, then he bought his own?
No. Then he had the opportunity, but we lived next door to Urban. He was pretty well to do, and he had a brother, Pete Urban, that lived in Hill County, just across the creek. And he built a new gin up there, and he knew Daddy was pretty good in figures, so he hired him to be his bookkeeper.
Oh.
And then he had an 80-acre farm and house that we could live in the house and work at 80-acre farm beside him being bookkeeper. So we lived there for, I guess, about 5 years. I don't know. I don't remember. I knew we lived there, but then they had a falling out about something, and we moved away, way up there, out of Hill. This was in Hill County, and we moved back to McLennan County.
After the 5 years, you moved back to McLennan
Huh?
County? Oh, okay. And is that the place that we used to visit and go by when we went to
No,
West?
that's when we left. That was our last home place.
Yeah.
But this was when me and brother first year start to school. I was 8 years old. He was 9. And they was in Hill County, the Mutt Town school. All Anglos. We was the only two Bohemians. Well, that's good though. You learn that language pretty fast that way.
Right.
We had one woman teacher, teaching the whole grade, from primer to 8th and 8th grade, I think.
The one-room schoolhouse.
Hmm?
The one-room schoolhouse.
One room, well, that's almost one room.
Did you walk to school?
Huh?
Did you walk to school?
Yeah. That's the only transportation we had. And in black land, after rain, your shoes got that big, you know.
How many miles? Was it a mile or two
About
to school?
4 miles.
4 miles to school.
And between that school and our home, there was community there. They had a church and school. They was better equipped than we was, you know. And they whole went from around Aquila and over there, went to school there because they had a church there. And me and my brother, well, we was just first year in school, you know, young. We were scared of them. We had to meet him going there and coming back. So we always crawling over the fence in the pasture and went around the pasture till we got way back over there and we came back on the road. But when it rained, it was rough. You couldn't hardly walk, you know. You had your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come to school, you had to clean it up before you went in.
What subjects did they teach you in school?
Well, they taught up to 8th grade now. What subject? This I didn't like the other school, but we was in. He was in first grade and I was in primer, so that's all we had to learn. And of course, read, write, and arithmetic.
And so how long did you go to school there?
2 years, I think. Then we moved away to up there where we was living by Garrick's.
By Garrick's?
Mm-hmm.
And which county was this?
There was no town. It was out of
Which county?
Open.
Which county
West.
was it? West County.
West, that was in McLennan
Oh,
County.
McLennan, okay,
West. See,
near West.
before we went to that one-room school, that was Hill County.
I see.
What did I name that school?
Mud school?
Yeah, that's first school. Oh, in Hill County. I'll think of it after a while.
Dad, can you tell us about
John
your brothers
was-
and sisters now?
John was the oldest one. Well, he must have been, I imagine he was 21 when he left. But see, you want to hear the story?
Yes.
Yes.
By then, Dad had a car overland. First car, but that was family's car. So for us boys, he had a buggy, new buggy, and a horse, good horse. We could have went to dances in different places. And John had a girl there, an American girl. He was very much in love with her. He wanted to marry her. But you know how parents were strict. If it's not Czech, it's not good enough for you. So John got, well, he didn't have no trade to make a living if a woman didn't help him. So he left home. Went to work in blacksmith shop with Louis Snowhouse. That was our friend. And he never did come back home. Sometime, long time after that, he stopped by, visit for just a few minutes. Him and old man just didn't. He couldn't forget that girl, which I can understand that. She was a good girl. We went to school with her, and she was our neighbor. The whole family was good people, but because they was Anglo, those days that didn't work. Yeah, he had a broken heart. I could tell you that right now. I know by my experience that he just had to hate the parents. That's the only way.
Well, I imagine he felt very rejected.
Because they had it planted and everything, and then all of a sudden, nothing. Well, you know how that is, the part. She was a good girl. I knew her, knew the whole family. We were in school together. There was nothing wrong with her, except she was Anglo. That made it different.
Okay, about
Daddy was funny about that. I don't know why. He himself, well, he could talk good English, German, and Czech. He could write and read in German, or in Czech and English. And he learned that all by himself. He didn't have much education. He was talking when they went to school there in Moulton. No, I guess it's maybe in Europe yet. No, it has to be in Moulton. They didn't have tablets like that to write on. They had those little
Slate boards?
slate
boards.
Yeah, slate boards. That's what they got all their writing.
And then Lucille was next, right?
Lucille left home about a year or two after that. Yeah, she left. Well, you couldn't blame him. The old man was so strict with them girls. They couldn't have no boyfriend, and they was already 20, 21 years old. They wouldn't allow them to date. Well, you know, that gets old after a while. So she left. Albina had a row with old man one time at the breakfast, but she didn't. She stayed on her ground. She talked back to him. And the old man got up and he was going to beat her up, but she beat him to it. She run out of the door quicker Went to the neighbors and stayed over there. Home and couldn't catch her. Albina was, she was all right in either way.
Very independent.
Yeah. But she got tired of taking that bullcorn, you know. And so then he had to go and beg her to come back, and he was there about 3-4 times before she made up her mind to come back home.
How old was she then?
Oh, she would have been 18, 19, maybe 20, I don't know. She was up in age. Lucia was already 21 when she left home. Because she couldn't have no boyfriend. Nobody could come to the house. He run them all.
Where did Lucille go?
Huh?
Do you know where she went? Where did she go for work?
She had some friends in the West, and their girlfriends, she knew they was working in Waco, so they found her a job right away. She went to work.
Do you know how much later she got married and moved away? Or did she stay in the area for a while?
Much later. She worked for years and years. And if I'm mistaken, maybe she was married, but she was divorced. Then she finally came back to...
With Dad, you're talking about Aunt Albina?
No, I'm talking about Lucille.
Oh, Lucille, excuse me. Okay.
Albina, she was one of the best in the family, hard workers. You couldn't beat her. Picking cotton, those boys.
Now, is this Lucille or Aunt Albina?
Lucille couldn't pick as much. She was older. She picked good, yeah, but she couldn't stay up with Albina. Albina was, she picked 300-400 like nothing. None of us could keep up with her. She was a good woman, hard-working woman. Everybody liked her, but she didn't know how to pick her husband. She picked 3, and neither one of them was worth a dime.
Is this Albina? Well, didn't Albina's first husband die? They were married 2 years?
No, well, he died, but they was already divorced.
Oh, I see.
And then the second one, he beat her. She had a home paid for. She had a good job in Dallas. And it's good for nothing. Europe, and he beat her out of the home and everything. She had to start all over again. Then she run into this he was a widow man, his wife died. And she thought even the people thought, Albina finally learned she got a good husband, and he was one of the sorries. She died from cancer.
In Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
This was about 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. She was a good woman. Everybody liked Albina, but when you can't date, you're so strict, parents are so strict, you're scared half the time, well, you don't know what to do. And then naturally you're going to run into wrong people. She was a good, hard-working woman. Everybody liked Albina.
So what about Lucille? Did you see her?
Lucille never did come home when she left.
So you never saw her again?
And she did, about 20 years later. She was already married to somebody. They wouldn't accept her home for some reason. So she tried several times and they wouldn't accept her, welcome her home. So she left. You don't blame her, do you?
Is she the one that lived in Colorado?
Huh?
Is Lucille the one that lived in Colorado?
Yeah, she died up there. They was farming. I stayed there before, when I left home. After I stayed there and I couldn't get along with my brother. So I left home and went to work for, Urbanowski was our neighbor. And then they moved to Corpus Christi, so they took me with them. So I stayed there with them, and for several years. Helped them, and then I worked for A.C. Kotsurek. Grandpa Kotsurek and his son A.C. They had 160 acres farm there, good blackland farm. Happy Cotton Farm, all farm work. So I stayed up there till I met your mother, and I was still working there when we got married, but we moved. We had a place rented already, and we moved out on a farm, farming for ourselves.
And this was where, in Driscoll?
This was in Driscoll.
In Driscoll, Texas. Mhm. What about your the rest of your family?
Antone was next.
Well, Anton, they finally, old folks, well, nobody could get along with him. He used to stay drunk all the time. So mother and Anton left.
Your dad, you're talking about your dad that drank at the time?
Yeah, he was an alcoholic, drunk all the time. And they couldn't get along. Well, you know, you can't get along with a drunk man, raising hell all the time. So they have divorce and separate. I don't know how much my mother and brother got out of that. Well, they're supposed to be half and half, isn't it? And they had 10 mules and 2 horses. They had all the 2-row equipment, for 4 mules.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of equipment, and they sold all that. And so mother got her part, and she paid for the house, but it was in Anton's name. But since she was divorced, so old man couldn't get none of it. And so Anton worked in a cotton mill when he got married, when he left the farm for 1 year or 2, and then they opened up that factory in Waco for building tires, car tire. So he got a job up there, and everybody, all the West people worked there, hundreds and hundreds of them. And he was making good money, and he stayed there for 20 years till he retired. He showed me he got a gold watch for retirement. After 20 years, I guess you deserve a gold watch. No, he had a good job. Of course, then the house that wasn't his money, that was mother's money. That belonged to all those kids, that money, when they divorced. But it was everything in his name, so it was his. When she died, he got the house, got all the rest of the furniture and everything.
Do you remember what year that your mother died?
No, and I don't. But this was...
It was in the early 40s, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. This was the funny part of it.
He used to say he had Tommy born.
What I was going to say. Oh, he had it written in a plain piece of paper like that. With he was had that written, that last will.
Now, who was this, Daddy?
My brother Anton.
Uh-huh.
That mother willed everything to his son Daniel. So neither one of us could touch anything,
Mm-hmm.
But that was comical, handwritten. He read it to us after the funeral. We didn't fight for nothing. What the hell was used to fighting for little of nothing? But he had the house in his name, and when she died, well, then he had a house paid for. That money belonged to all of us. But we didn't get none of it. We didn't cry about it. But this about Lucille, before I went to Corpus Christi, I worked for him 2 years, stayed with him when I left home. I liked it over there. They needed a hand to help Henry haul the hay, from the field.
And where was this, Daddy?
Huh?
Where was this? Where were they living? Where was Lucille
They
living?
was living in on the other side, Waco, little community. I'll think of it but offhand I don't know. They didn't make money, but just lived, you know. And they needed me to help them. I had to help him. He had 6 mules, and he had to have a lot of feed for him during the winter, so we hauled from 2 months stuff, Johnson grass and different feed out of the field to help him. Then we got through with that. Well, cotton was open already, so we started picking cotton. And I stayed with him till, not till we didn't finish, but about halfway. I remember the first bale, we picked beautiful cotton. And it was late in the evening, and he was going to the gin. He said, "Well, Charlie, you don't have to pick them all. Why don't you come to gin with me?" So, yeah, went with him to the gin. He ginned that bale. It weighed 500 some odd pounds, and he sold it right there for 5 cents a pound. That was a lot of money. So they couldn't make a living on it. They lived another year after I left, and it was getting worse and worse. They couldn't afford to hire nobody. I wasn't there no more. So I think they went broke. Well, Lucille lost that leg that time.
She lost a leg?
Yeah. They went to west and coming back to where they lived. They had a flat. So Henry got out and took up was working on that flat, take it off. And she was squatted around by him, you know, watching him. And this drunk guy came high speed and hit her where she was squatting, and she lost her leg.
How
It
terrible.
got mashed up so bad they had to
Amputate.
amputate it.
Oh.
So I got a telegram from, it wasn't from her because she was too ill to send it, but some of her family, maybe Anton or whoever it was, our friend, that she would like to see me if I could come, you know, visit her while she was in the hospital. Well, yes, I was very glad that I would be willing to go, but I couldn't leave Mother. She was supposed to have you next few days. Well, I couldn't leave. I had to stay home, and so we wrote I had somebody to write a letter to her that I appreciate very much, that I would have been to see her, but describe what's going to happen, that I got to stay at home with my family. So I guess she understood it. She got over it. She got well. Then I went to see her when you was already born. You was a little baby. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you was.
You talked about Lucille's husband being called Henry.
Both what?
Lucille's husband is Henry.
No. What was his name?
First husband.
What was his last name?
Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember his last name?
Huh?
You don't know his last name?
Becerra.
Becerra?
Becerra. Yeah.
Becerra?
Mhm.
Henry Becerra?
Becerra. And I picked his brothers. We picked cotton together for Henry Becerra. And his brother, he was pretty well to do at one time, but during the Depression he lost his house and a job and whatever he was poor like the rest of them. So he was bootlegging. He was making a little money bootlegging, and so was Henry. But you know, everybody was doing that. You had our time set, your brother. Too many bootleggers.
So you just traded.
Yeah, it is a good trade. That's why my daddy made money, but he could make more if he had just watched it. But he had good whiskey, made good whiskey and good beer. He had plenty of customers. He had all the doctors and lawyers from Wakefield coming in. Yeah, he got caught one time, but the lawyers got him out.
Really?
He didn't have to
Was this
He
before
didn't
you,
find him or didn't send him to jail or anything.
this is before you left home?
I was, no, I wasn't at home already.
Oh,
I just knew about it. I was already here in the Gulf.
Well, Dad, you were in the service after you left home, weren't
Huh?
you? Were you in the service? Didn't you join the Army after you left home?
No, I left home went to the Army from home
Uh-huh.
because my brother had a fight and I couldn't take it no more.
Which brother was this?
Anton.
You and Antone had a
Yeah,
disagreement.
John was already working somewhere.
Mhm.
Me and him he thought he's my daddy, that he gonna boss me like, that don't go.
Mhm.
So we went to dance one night and we had a big fight going back home. I made up my mind in the morning I couldn't sleep all night long and tell old man I'm leaving and I'm leaving, no matter what. Old man didn't like it, but he couldn't stop me because I was already 21, 22
Mhm.
years old. So they had to let me go. But I enjoy the Army. That's the best place. I learned more in the Army than I did in school. And if I had stayed, well, I would have had. Let's put it that way. I had friends, a staff sergeant and his wife who lived right in a post next to the barracks where we lived. They had 3 children. Well, whenever they wanted to go somewhere or go to a picture show, they asked me to babysit with the theater. And the oldest one was already like your boy, a little bit on the mean side, was smart. But that Louis, the youngest one, was, well, he was still a baby. And the girl was, I think, 2 years old. I just loved those kids, so I was glad to stay with it. And we went, lots of time, Miss Wynn was a very good woman. Her husband was a staff sergeant. Staff sergeant was already, it's one rank below officer. He's officer but non-commissioned officer. And always I had to take, during the summer, I was a truck driver. I was the only one who had a license. I had to take the whole crew. We didn't work. We didn't do nothing during the summer one. We went swimming in the morning, come back for dinner, and eat after 1 o'clock and come back to supper time.
That's all you did?
But I had to, in summer, I had to drive the truck, to haul them up there and back. It's all we could haul. And Miss Wynn always went with us and the kids. And so when she went grocery shopping, I drove her to the commissary, took care of the kids while she picked out the groceries, load them up. They loaded it for her, and then came home to her quarters. I helped her unload them, put them away where she wanted them. She always had at home I never did drink hot tea. But she had a cup of hot tea and a piece of cake or pie, and I had to sit down and eat that. That's how she paid me. She was a very nice woman. And when she found out I was cooking supper, we had to cook one night a week, every month. They picked for each one of us.
KP duty.
Yeah, cooking duty.
Mm-hmm.
And I cooked supper, and Major came to supper. That was unusual, usually just the workers.
How many did you usually have to cook for?
I didn't have many, maybe 8, 9, 10, somewhere along there. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But you cook just one week, one night out of a week. The other night somebody else took over. And so this Major came and ate supper there, and he asked me, he said, "Charlie, where did you learn to cook?" I said, "Well, at home, I guess. I didn't go to no school or anywhere to cook." He said, "It's fine food." He gave me compliment. So after that, he talked to Sergeant Wynn, And that sergeant went to ask me if I would like to go to cooking school. Well, he brought it up to me, but he said, this what got me stunned. They would send me to Fort Sam Houston. I never did like Fort Sam Houston, but they would discharge me. I had over 2 years service already. They discharged me and sent me to the cook and book school. And when I would graduate, then I would get my rank back, whatever I had. But I didn't like that because I didn't want to stay in the Army that long. They would re-enlist me for 3 years and then send me to cooking. So at first I said, yeah, I'll go to this school. Then I thought about it. I said, hell, another 3 years. So I told Sergeant the next day, I said, no, I made up my mind. I guess I don't want to go to cook and book. But I regret it ever since, you know. I could have had a good job on the outside. The cooks are good, paid good. They get all the best food. But it's too late to talk about it.
But didn't you drive an ambulance while you were in the
I
Army?
drove an ambulance when I got a license. I was the only one, the whole squadron went for a test, for license. Well, neither one of them knew how to drive. They didn't drive a car or a truck or anything. They didn't know nothing about the signal. You know, those days you had to have all signal by hand. You didn't have no lights on. And I took him there, and the man that picked us, he put me, he said, you drive this ambulance. So I got in there, started it up, and we drove down the highway, and he watched me because I knew the signals, knew how to stop. And he told me, when you going up down steep hill, you know, like that, don't go in high speed. You throw that thing in low gear and go down, or second gear and go down the slowest speed you can, because that thing could get away from you. Which was a good question. But anyhow, out of that whole bunch, I was the only one that got the license. The rest of them failed. Because they didn't know nothing. They never drove a car or never drove a truck. They didn't know the signals and nothing. You couldn't blame the sergeant that turned them down. But they gave me the license right quick, and so I was driving ambulance. They needed a driver, for maybe a couple months. And then they bought that truck. We used to haul all that supply for the mess with spare mules and kind of wagon made, not a real wagon, but made it out of a hack or something. And that's the way we delivered the supply for our every soldier in his own outfit was doing the same thing, but I was doing that for our outfit. But then they had a chance to buy this ambulance, the Red Cross wagon, and they knew I knew how to drive it, so they put me driving it. I drove it about 3-4 months. And then they bought that truck. Instead of hauling it with mules and wagons, they second-hand truck and put me on the truck to haul the ration. They didn't need that many ambulance drivers no more. So I was a truck driver then.
And this is when you were in Fort Sill in Oklahoma?
Yeah. Indian Territory. So the cell where Geronimo was captured and tied, and I don't think he died there, but that's where he was. And we had big hills out away from the post, you know. We had a swimming hole there where we went there to swim in between those hills. And then a lot of times when you have to follow ambulance, they had the problem. Artillery was having their problem, firing their guns, you know, and they had to have officers. They had to check how accurate and how far, what distance, and all that. Well, we had to wait there with the ambulance. If somebody got hurt, we'd have to take him in. Nobody got hurt. We wait till they got through, and then all of us went in. And it was one time, I don't know, I was going to drive an ambulance. I was just there, happened to be there with the group. And they had a field problem about artillery and all that. And we already rode up on a truck. I wasn't driving, to go in, to the base. And a bunch of bootleggers was bootlegging in those hills. And I don't know how it happened already. It's been so long. But anyhow, that they were going to hijack this truck that's going home base, you know, to the for night. And these bootleggers rode right side of him and stopped him. And so one of the guys from the car got on the front bumper, and he was wrestling with the driver. He was trying to get hold of that truck. And another one jumped from the back, you know, on there was kind of platform there, and stood there. And so this radio, this one of the officers that was with us radio to the post that we having a problem. So they sent another ambulance up there with a bunch of MPs, you know. And so they just about had this. They would have robbed this truck and get away with it. But some way or another, this guy that was on a bumper, on a fender here, and trying to fight with the driver just pushed him off, and he fell off, rolled down. And he started going, but another one jumped in the back of the truck, and he was going to, I don't know whether he was going to kill anybody or not, but anyhow, he was trying to hijack that. And here comes soldiers from Foyt Hill in ambulance, and they were sharpshooters. And they come pretty close to the back of that truck and stopped, and he jumped out and got on his knees, and he took an aim at that guy standing, his head right, you know, above that, and he hit him right in the back of the head, and bullet came out like that. Well, but that's a self-defense. He had to do it. He didn't even try him. Well, they lectured him, but the guy was dead. What can you do? That was in self-defense. But that's the way it was. You know, you went through a lot of stuff.
Different
We
experiences.
all had to be witnesses to it. What do? You learn by all that. That's what I said. I learned a hell of a lot more there than I did in school, because I didn't understand school. I was too young to soak in, you know. Over there I was already mature. I was 22 years old. Only wished I could have stayed realist and stayed those 3 more years and get that cooking class. But that's where I messed up. You never know. You're too damn young to realize.
Dad, getting back to your mom and dad, you don't remember what years they died?
Huh?
You don't remember what year your dad died?
What year he died?
Mm-hmm.
When he died, I wasn't at home. I was away from home already. But wait a minute, I was married already. So I got married in 36.
34. You got married in 34.
I got married.
34, and Lorraine was born in 38.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said 44.
No, no, no. No, no.
34, yeah, that's more right.
I'd be illegitimate.
Yeah. So, that's
So-
what it was, 200
But you
years
don't
ago.
remember what year he died? Your dad died?
Yeah, wait a minute, let me stop and think. You were just a baby when my daddy died.
You're talking about me,
How
Lorene?
was you born? Yeah, you don't know that. I don't know.
Dad, I was born in February 1938.
Well, he died before that. He must have died, did she say 44?
Mom, you don't know what year he died, did you? Dad's dad. But his mom died in 43?
It was, first year was about 30.
40 something.
Your dad died soon after you got married, about 1935.
Maybe so.
And your mom died the year Tom was born, 1943.
Huh?
And your mom died the same year that Tom was born, 1943.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't remember? Did you go back to the funeral?
Yeah, I went to the funeral, but I went, they sent for me, no, this is a funny thing. They sent for a telegram that she's very ill, that she would like to see me, for me to come right away. Well, I left everything at home unattended and went up there in Irving.
In Irving?
In Irving, that is like streetcar, you know.
Oh.
And I came to the hospital that Sunday night, and after she greeted me, saw me, she got one of those spells, you know. She was cancer. And doctor was there. He walked out, and I walked out after him, and he said, well, this is it. She won't last tonight, or she can't last another day. It's going to end. Well, what do you expect? You expect those things. But I stayed there 4 days, and I couldn't stay longer. I said, I got to go home and plan my stuff. It was time to plan. So I left, and then she was feeling much better, and she lived 2 more years after that.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she got over it and had a good doctor, Dr. Ainsworth. He was a family doctor. He was good. So that shows you how much they know. That's all guesswork.
But your mom did die from cancer.
She died from cancer of the liver.
What about your dad? What did he die from?
Well, I imagine that there's too much whiskey in him. He died from heart attack or whatever it was. He wasn't sick, he just died.
Oh.
I don't think he was, well, feeling bad maybe, but he wasn't a serious illness. But he was so full of whiskey that he was pretty well preserved.
What about the rest of the family now? Did we leave anyone out?
No. Well, John, wait a minute. Lucia didn't come to Mother's funeral because they live in Colorado already. You know, that takes money to come from Colorado, so she didn't come.
Was she living with Henry then? Was that her husband? Or
Huh?
was Lucille still living with Henry?
Yeah,
In
see,
Colorado, they-
the reason they went to Colorado, he couldn't get a job, decent job, and he used to work on those big tractors, building highways, you know.
Uh-huh.
And somebody talked him into Colorado's building a lot of new highways and paying good to go over there. So naturally you're going to go because you're in that kind of business. Yeah, but then driving those big tractors in those gullies and those high hills like that, he didn't stop and think that thing could turn over on him. And he did, and that's what killed Henry.
Oh.
That tractor got into that ravine or whatever you call it and turned over on him and killed him instantly. So she was a widow.
Okay.
But she was a heavy drinker then too. She didn't last long, about a year, I guess, at the most. They didn't have any children. Albina didn't have any children.
Millie didn't have any children.
Millie don't have any children.
So the only members of your family that had children were John.
Who
What?
had 2 girls and a boy.
John had 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
And then you, Charlie, had 2 daughters and a son.
And Anton,
And Antone had
a boy and a girl.
a daughter and a son.
I thought he had, yeah.
And Dorothy and Daniel.
And the others did not have children.
Do you want to tell her? You
Huh?
want to you're not, are you recording right now? You want to mention to Millie that you appreciate her letter?
Yeah.
You told us.
And then I would have went her right away, but didn't feel up to it, and I was ill. And then I spent 10 days recently in the hospital. I had a very serious problem, and I'm still not over it. So she understands, why the delay.
But you really look forward to meeting her sometime.
Huh?
But you really look forward to perhaps meeting her.
That's right, that I would be my pleasure to meet either one of you, get acquainted since we can anyhow, if it's possible. You make a suggestion and I'll try to follow it.
Okay.
Well, Millie, this is Lorene Foyt Burner, and this has been a lot of fun. I hope we can meet again once again.
And we hope this will help you in your search for the family tree. It's a great idea, and good luck with it.
Good night.